Hi, I'm Al Corlin. Thanks very much for joining me. We are in Vancouver, British Columbia right now with the team shooting some video interviews with the executives from our sponsor companies, some of our sponsor companies. I'm chatting right now with Mark Brown. I'd like to be talking about golf because we're both really avid golfers, and the last time we played, he got lucky, I have to say, and one stroke, I believe, you beat me by.
It was very close.
But I'm 80 years old and he's 25, so what's the difference? Mark is involved with a company called Rare Element Resources. I have been following Rare Element Resources for quite some time now. Jeff Phillips, who's been on our radio program numerous times, has kept our listeners pretty much up to speed on Rare Element. Things are going very, very well for this company. They have a rare element project, and they also now, just I believe as of last week, you have a gold project, and you had a 50% interest in it, and now you've got it all back. So where do you want to start?
Well, the gold project, we had it optioned off to Newmont to earn in on it. They were going to earn up to 65%, and they got a little project fatigue, which we were kind of excited about because they spent $2.7 million on it, and now they're handing it back to us. Which is great because they're handing it back to us in really good shape with some pods of ore that they've defined, or potentially ore, that we can go in and do a little bit of work. We have $1.5 million drill program planned for it this year, and hopefully by early 2011 come up with a gold resource on that.
Now, specifically, you're going to spend $1.5 million basically doing exploration. How many meters you're going to drill, where are you going to drill, et cetera? What's the game plan?
10 to 15,000 feet of drilling. The exploration base work is all done, and Newmont did a great job on it, and they've even done quite a bit of wide space drilling. And all we need to do is actually do the infill drilling to come up with a resource. The drill holes were too far apart to calculate a proper resource. So, gold isn't our main focus, but we would do that work, come up with a resource report, and then likely bring in a partner once we've calculated a resource. We see that as a very good value add for the shareholders.
Oh, you bet, yeah.
I mean, it's a good increase in value when you can go from having no gold resource to having a decent one, and it's lower grade gold, but it's at surface, easily mineable, and easily processable.
Okay. Keeping that in mind, that a major asset of the company is precious metals, specifically gold, let's talk a little bit about rare elements. And the reason I want to talk about rare element, I don't know how much you folks know about rare elements, but they have gotten to be, with the I guess, advancement, for lack of better terms, of the green movement, rare elements have gotten to be very, very important to society. Now, heretofore, the majority of these assets have been coming out of mainland China. Now, you're changing that with some significant projects in North America.
Yeah, I mean, that's the value equation on it, is that 97% of rare earths were coming out of China, still are, and they're reducing their exports and putting extra taxes on their exports. And the rest of the world is using these technology, or these elements more and more in new technology. So you just saw me drive up in my hybrid car. Sure. And in the hybrid car, which are widely sold around the world now, particularly the Toyota hybrid car, there's about 40 kilos of rare earths in there, which is quite a bit. And these have to come from somewhere. And right now, they're almost all coming from China. And our project in Wyoming, which is a great place to be a miner, Wyoming is a great state to be in, has a known resource of rare earths of about 10 million tons, about 4% rare earth oxides. And we're working on, we did a drill program in the fall, and now we're going to expand that resource. We should announce that in the next few weeks. And we're also working on a scoping study, which will give us an idea of the value equation for how much it's going to cost to mine these things and get them out of the ground. But our back-of-the-envelope figures are looking very, very good.
In talking about back-of-the-envelope type figures, what is the asset in Wyoming valued at right now on the books, for as an example? No pie in the sky.
Well, this is on the books. It's interesting. It's really, we've only spent, since we started the company in 2002, we've only spent around $3 million on this project, and a little bit over that, and that's extremely low considering our market cap is around $100 million, and we've always kept an eye on the bank account. We've never wasted money. Where possible, we've hired contractors, the best ones we can find, but we employ them just when we need them. And we're transitioning the company a bit now to having more full-time people because we're getting towards the development stage now that we know that we've got a real asset in the ground. Sure. So, I mean, we've spent $3 million and we've got a very good value, very, multi-billion-dollar deposit in the ground there.
When I talk about asset value, though, you, being a CA, chartered accountant, you're talking about specifically auditable figures. You're talking about the amount of money. The way an asset is valued in Canada is based on the amount of money spent on that particular asset, historic cost, right. But in terms of what you've defined in the ground, putting a value on that, I have to believe it's fairly significant.
It is. I mean, there's a couple ways to do that.
Yeah.
You know, roughly our resources around 800 million pounds of rare earth oxides, and we expect that to grow quite a bit in the next few weeks here. So watch out for that next resource report.
Sure.
But that's been valued around $3 billion in the ground. Now you have to obviously spend some money to get that out.
If I can just stop you just for a second, there's a big difference between 3 million and 3 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because the prices of the rare earth oxides are increasing. All the rare earth prices are going up. And even if they don't go up anymore, we do expect them to go up around 10% per year coming up for the next 5 years. But even if they don't, at today's prices, we have a very robust project there. And when we first took on this project, our gross figure of the value in the ground was around 800 million. But we didn't have a defined resource and we didn't have a lot of the people in the place. So since then, we've obviously increased that quite a bit. And it's a very big figure, which is why it's worthwhile to spend some money on the project and advance it further. And it's also one of the reasons we just were able to raise $8.8 million from institutional investors who are you know, long-term holders of the stock who are looking at the company to add value through resource and development, resource growth and development of the project.
You know, it's really interesting, but I haven't seen a market that I have gotten in the resource sector that I have gotten as enthusiastic about as I have about rare earth elements. I mean, gold's been around obviously longer than I have. Silver's been around longer than anyone has living right now. But in terms of the rare elements sector, it strikes me as being a perfect storm for investment. And the reason I say that is because you have an asset that's incredible. The demand is incredible around the world. You have one source of supply right now, mainland China. For all practical purposes, one source of supply. I mean, companies like Rare Element are going to do amazingly well because you're going to be able to provide some of the supply from I would have to say, is probably a much more stable part of the world.
Absolutely. I mean, the U.S. government just put out a governmental report stating that they're starting to just wake up to this. And they're starting to realize that a lot of new green technologies and a lot of new military or existing military technologies use rare earths. And some of them use small amounts, but some of them use significant amounts. And they're starting to look down their supply chains and say, where are we getting these from?
Right.
And our project is right in the middle of the U.S. And it's in a great location to
mining-friendly state. Wyoming is very, very mining-friendly. I mean, state government.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been able to do all the work we've needed down there. We've got a friendly relationship with the local people. And we're adding more and more people onto the project now as it's getting busier and busier. And, you know, this year we're going to probably spend around $4.5 million on the project. And that is mostly for drilling, for two things. One, resource expansion on the project, and the other one is to upgrade the characteristics of the resource. Now, when I talk about resource expansion, one of the exciting things is that our project has, it's got a certain shape to it, a bit like a rectangle, but at both ends going out, it's open. And we've had some of our best drill holes at both ends of the deposit.
Wow.
So we're going to be drilling out in those directions, and there's some other targets nearby as well. So we have about 4 main targets that have huge potential, and we've also been getting some higher grade rare earths there. Our average grade has been around 3.5% to 4%, and we've been hitting materials that are 7, 8, 9. Even in some cases, we hit some long intercepts of 10 and 12%.
Those big numbers.
Rare earth oxides.
Yeah, big numbers.
Those are very big numbers, and the neat thing about some of those biggest numbers is that they're right at surface. So you're talking a kind of open pit mine, which is the cheapest kind of mining, and you're talking about starting with your highest grade materials, which keeps, you know, your capital costs under control.
Wow, yeah.
So.
Interesting situation. You're going to be hearing more about Rare Element Resources. I chat about it whenever any information comes out on the company. We talk about it on the air. We will be updating these videos as the company evolves throughout the year. Have to say, in the interest of full disclosure, that our company does all of the SEC reporting for Rare Element Resources. We did the original Form 20F registration statement, which really provides you with an advantage because all you have to do to get all the information you want on this company is simply go to the website of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, and everything is all right there. I own a little bit of stock in Rare Elements, so I am clearly not unbiased, but I'm not giving you registered investment advice because I'm not a registered investment advisor. I'm just saying if you like this sector of the resource industry, and I certainly do, if for no other reason, just simple supply and demand, click on the banner on our website, and you can get all the information you want about this company, and that way you can make your own informed investment decision. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much, Al.